Hello spooky friends, my name's Alexis and welcome to my first October reading vlog. Me and Poe are here to wish you a happy October 1st and a happy spooky season. What do you want? I am so excited to be reading all of the horror books and doing all of the Halloween activities with you this month. I feel like in October, I'm really just my best self. So I can't wait to be vlogging the whole month with you. So we don't really have a set TBR for this vlog or for the entire month really. If you watched my October TBR, which I will link below if you missed it. He is so distracting. Anyways, if you watched my October TBR, then you know that I am participating in a number of readathons, but the first one being Becca's SPOOKOPLATHon. Okay, Pup, that is enough. That is enough. You are too distracting. Becca's SPOOKOPLATHon, and I am doing the roll as you go method. So I have a list of hopeful books that I want to get to this month, but I don't know what order I'm reading them in and which books I'm actually going to get to. You gonna go up there and be quiet, or are you gonna go up there and bark at people out the window? Yeah. He looks so cute with the bat. Oh my god. Going back to the October TBR, if you watched that, you already know the first two books I'm going to be starting with. So our first book, of course, is The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson, and this one is fitting the prompt of TBR veteran because I bought this over a year ago. And it is one of the oldest horror books I have on the TBR, so what a perfect time to finally get to it. And I have already started this. I started it physically last night, and then I've been coloring this morning, so while coloring, I switched to the audiobook, and I'm liking it so far. I'm liking both the physical and the audiobook. But I just got to part 2, so I thought now was a good time to check in because I kind of know what's going on. So in this book, we are following a woman named Nellie and her son Max. In the beginning, we find out that Nellie's grandfather has just died and left her this plot of land and this house. And it kind of comes as a surprise because she didn't really know him. She only met him like one time, we find out. She spent 4 days on the property and that was it. So she has not kept in touch with him over the years and doesn't really know the state of the house or the land. There's actually a cool map on the inside of the pages showing the land that she inherits. So we meet Nellie as she's in the lawyer's office getting told about what is now hers, and the lawyer is urging her to sell it. He says there's all these offers, it's worth this much money, like it's not worth it to fix it up, sell it. But the thing we found out about Nellie is she's actually in a very abusive marriage right now and is looking for a way out, and this is just the perfect way. Her husband does not know about this relative, about this piece of land, so this would really be her way to escape, and he wouldn't be able to find her. So that's what she decides to do. She packs up her car and her son and all they can fit in the car, and they head out during the night to go live on this big piece of land in the woods in kind of this rundown house. We know from the synopsis that spooky stuff is going to start happening, and yeah, so right away the vibes are a little off. We're hearing from both Nellie and Max, and when it switches to Max's kind of perspective, he can definitely feel something's wrong. He is just more sensitive to the energy there than Nellie, so he's just getting bad feelings about it. And then on their very first night there, they actually end up hitting and killing a black bear, which is where the bear on the cover comes into play. If you're sensitive to animal death and stuff, I didn't think it was too gratuitous. It was a pretty quick scene. They really didn't go into the animals suffering, none of that stuff. So as an animal lover, I was able to stomach it. And then later on in that first chapter of them in the house, there is another animal death, but again, they find the dead body. There's no scene of abuse. So far there is animal death in this, but not on-page cruelty, if that makes sense. So that's the present day timeline, which is actually not present day because it actually is taking place in the 80s. But then we're also getting flashbacks to 1917, which I believe we're following her grandfather. So we're just learning the history of the land. There was a little bit of an altercation where we learn that the way Nellie's family got the land might not have been the most legal I guess it was just a little shady, and there are definitely people who are holding grudges because of that. So I don't know if that's going to come into play, like maybe they're cursed by this family who's mad at them for what they did. But yeah, so far I'm actually really enjoying the historical aspect. I wasn't expecting that going into it. I thought it was just going to all be the present story of Nellie and her son. But getting to see the history of the land that they're on, like, I don't know, I think it's really interesting. I think it really adds to like the creep factor of it. We're gonna get these two mysteries kind of unraveling at the same time. So very excited for that. So far, I think it's reminding me a little tiny bit of American Horror Story Roanoke. I'm gonna color a little bit longer, keep listening to the audiobook. I've actually had a pretty productive day so far. So I actually took a half day at work. I worked this morning. And then this afternoon, I went out to lunch with my sister to my favorite vegan restaurant. I got this vegan chicken sandwich. So good. I would like sell my soul for one of these sandwiches. And then we ended up getting matching ghost tattoos to celebrate October and our love for Halloween and all that. So very, very exciting day. And now I'm just relaxing a little bit before we are going to see a movie later. And the movie really doesn't fit the theme of October, but we are going to go see The Wild Robot, which looks very cute. And my partner is very excited for it. He really, really loves robot movies. I guess that's kind of weird to say, but like WALL-E is one of his favorite movies ever. So yeah, I just think that this will definitely be his type of movie. And I am happy to go along and see anything that involves cute little animals, so. And then besides that, my night is free. It's definitely gonna be a goal every day this month to try and read a lot. So at the moment, the goal is obviously gonna be getting to part 2 next. So I'm thinking I will check in with you then. It looks like there are it looks like there might be 4 parts in this book. So checking in every time I finish a part, unless something really exciting happens and I need to tell you right away. So that's the plan, and I will see you later. Later now, and I am getting ready for bed, so I wanted to give you my check-in for the first day of October. So as I told you earlier, we were going to see The Wild Robot, and it ended up being super cute as expected. I was definitely tearing up at the end a little bit. Like, it just probably give it like, I don't know, like a 4.5 star. I liked it a lot. Maybe it's just been a while since I've seen a kids movie, but there were a lot of adult jokes in it and a lot of talk of death. That was kind of like a big theme of the movie, was like death. I was a little surprised at that, but still really enjoyed it. And then I came home and I have been reading a little bit since. I did make it to part 3, so I'm keeping my promise and checking in with you every time I finish a section of the book. Part 2 was a lot. We got so much information, and I was honestly pretty confused for most of it. And then this last little bit, it like finally clicked. I decided to sit down because my arm was getting tired. In this part, there's so much information we just got, I don't even know what to tell you. We are now getting like a new sort of perspective from a relative of Nellie's and the person who like kind of wants to buy the land. I can see him being like the conflict of the story. And then we're getting a lot of flashback scenes to the past. The flashback chapters were a little bit confusing because I didn't really understand who we were following, but now I kind of get what's going on. They got a little gory. There was our first instance of like body horror, and we kind of got a sneak peek into like what the evil thing is that I'm assuming is going to be introduced into Nellie and Max's storyline, and I'm liking it a lot. It's definitely not what I was expecting, and we also got a look into like how Nellie's ancestors have played a part in this evil thing. We haven't gotten any real horrific scenes in the present day storyline. That one is still going very slowly, but I'm thinking now that we've seen like the origin of this thing, it's going to start getting introduced. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I am going to get ready for bed now, and I'll probably read a little bit more just to fall asleep, but this will be my last check-in for the day. And then yeah, we'll just keep going with it tomorrow. And I will probably talk to you when we get to part 4. Good night.
Perfect.
Hello and happy Tuesday. It's later now and I am back from the library and the gym, and we just had dinner, so I am finally ready to start reading again. I did a little bit of audiobook listening today and I did make it to part 4. So I am here to give you my update about part 3, and I'm kind of losing interest in the book. Part 3 was a little boring because everything's just kind of staying the same. We're not really getting an increase in like action or the spooky stuff. Like, I'm just waiting for something to happen. There were a few good scenes. There was another bear encounter that was much creepier than the first one, and just getting to learn more about this evil thing and more about the history of the place. There's still a lot of flashback chapters, and I think that's what I'm getting bored of. I want more present day. I want something creepy to happen in the Nellie and Max storyline, and I'm just feeling a little bored. So we have 2 more parts to get through. I'm gonna try to do that tonight, right now. And yeah, wanted to pop in to mention that in the first chapter of part 4, the one that takes place in 1989, at the end of the chapter, there is a scene of animal cruelty involving some kittens. So watch out for that. That was very unexpected and unnecessary and descriptive. I am very tired, so I'm not moving, but I have just made it to part 5, and unfortunately my enjoyment of the book just keeps going down. Every chapter in this part had some depiction of animal death, animal cruelty, just things I don't like reading about, and I don't know why there's so much in this part when it hasn't really been a factor the rest of the story, and I don't think it's necessary. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm gonna keep going and try to finish this. I am so excited. I just finished the book and I can finally go to bed. I need to put the dust jacket back on, but yeah, you know what book it is. 2.5 stars. I did not like the ending. I did not like the last 2 parts. You know my thoughts about part 4. And then part 5 is when like all the action and the scary stuff finally happens. I say scary very loosely. Nothing was actually scary in this book. But like at that point, it was just such a big buildup for like not that much. Nothing. It was not worth the payoff. And honestly, it was really confusing to have everything happening at once. Like I don't even know what just happened. A little disappointing that my first read of October is going to be such a low rating, but at least we got through it fast and now we can start something else. So I'm not going to be starting anything now because I'm exhausted. I'm going right to sleep. But tomorrow I'm going to start physically Fantastic Land by Mike Backoven, because that was my second prompt for Spookoplathon. I rolled a double for my first one, so I had to roll the dice again, and I landed on the Jason Voorhees space, which is the prompt to read a book with 13 letters in the title. So I'm a little nervous going into Fantastic Land because I've seen a lot of mixed reviews, but let's just hope it's better than this one. I'll give you a better synopsis when I actually start it tomorrow because I'm too tired to think right now. But I am planning on rolling for my third prompt. That way I have an audiobook to start tomorrow while I work because Fantasticland doesn't have one, or at least not one that I can find on the apps I use for audiobooks. And I'll insert the clip of that so you know what I get. And yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow when I start one of these next two books. Okay, here is my game board and we are ready to roll for our next prompt. Sorry, I don't feel like setting up the whole overhead filming thing right now. So this is the angle you're gonna get, and I have my dice. If you missed my TBR video, these are dice out of a Pokemon Elite Trainer box because I guess these are the only dice we have in the house and they don't actually have a 1 on them. They have this EX symbol. So if that pops up, that is a 1. And of course, we are using Spooky Bulbasaur to be our little place marker. Even though he's a little big for the board, we're making it work. So I guess I'll turn it this way because the last prompt we got, of course, was Jason. So we're going to roll from here and see what comes up next. Okay, so we have a 6 and a 1. I am going to be extra careful about counting correctly this time. If you watch my TBR, you know. Okay, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Feed scroll. All right, this could go really good or really bad because I have a lot on my hopeful list, but I don't want anything that's not on there added. So maybe I'll make the rule that it has to be something that's like on my hopeful list already. Okay, changing angles and starting my screen recording so you can see what our options are. All right, so first up, We Came to Welcome You, which is not already on my TBR. An ad. Okay, so I was gonna save this one for Vampathon. This doesn't work because I don't have the audiobook. I need an audiobook. Ooh, okay. We have Ghost Eaters. I know that's on the TBR. Do we have the audiobook for it? Let's go over to the Libby app. Yes, we have the audiobook. Okay, there is my next prompt and book chosen for Spookoplathon, Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman, and I will be starting this tomorrow. Hello, good morning. I am having just simply the best day ever because I started the audiobook for Ghost Eaters and I am eating this up. Ha, eating. Wow, I am really liking this book so far. I kind of went into this a little bit blind. I didn't entirely know what it was about. I assumed ghosts, but I had read this author's other book, Whisper Down the Lane, and I remember seeing this one super cheap on Pango a few months ago, so I decided to order it. Really for the cover, like, I just feel like this is going to be a good scary time. This cover still creeps me out. But yeah, I'm really excited to say that so far the vibes are matching. I am on part 3 already and 38% of the way through the book, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So, in this one, we are following a woman named Erin, and we're kind of, in the first chapter, we get a look back at this friend group she had in college, it seems like, and it's just really showing us the dynamics of the friendship. The leader is this guy named Silas, and he's a little reckless, very charismatic, so all of the friends kind of blindly follow him. So in our first scene, he's literally breaking into a mausoleum, because he heard a rumor that if you cut off a tongue of something called a revenant, you can communicate with the dead. And like, that's kind of like his super hyperfixation in this book, is he really wants to talk to ghosts. Erin, Amara, and Tobias are just following along with this friend. And then we fast forward to present day, and while they're still friends, the relationship is very different now that they're out of college. Silas has developed a drug addiction, and because of this, it's just really put a strain on the relationship with the other friends. He is making very reckless, poor choices. And the other friends are really trying to support him and help him through it, but he's very resistant to this. Anytime they try and bring up his addiction, he gets mad and like starts a fight with them. So pretty quick in the story, and this is in the synopsis, this isn't a spoiler, Silas ends up overdosing and dying. And Erin is just filled with all this guilt over it, even though it is 100% not her fault. She just feels like she kind of failed her friend by not being there to save him. So it's been a very heavy book so far. It deals with drug use, drug addiction, grief, death, like very heavy topics. So after the death of Silas, the other male friend in the group, Tobias, comes to Erin and Amara and says, me and Silas were kind of researching this new drug named Ghost that gives you the ability to talk to the dead. And he wants to continue this research, he calls it, to try and contact Silas in the afterlife. And that's where we're at now. Erin and Amara are opening this communication to try and reach Silas, and our spooky things are starting to happen. It's not like in your face scary, but it definitely has like the themes of a horror book. And then just like the fact that they're trying to talk to ghosts, and like, I mean, they think they're talking to Silas, but who knows who they're really talking to. Or if they really are successfully talking to anybody, they could just be hallucinating because they are taking this drug. I just want to do nothing but keep listening to this, and thankfully I have a pretty chill work day, so it seems like I'm going to be able to continue to listen. So that's that. And then the other super exciting thing that happened is my 2025 planner got delivered, which I know makes me a super big nerd for being that excited over it. But like, I am such a planner girly. Like, I write in my planner every single day. I love decorating it with stickers. Like, yeah. So I don't know if this is interesting to anybody. I've been like considering filming like a planner setup video, maybe. Like I said, I don't know, like I like watching them, but I don't know if anybody else would, especially because you're here for like bookish content, not planner content. But if even one person would be interested, please let me know in the comments and I will maybe film one. So I have spent the morning setting it up. I got a plastic cover and I got some tabs to mark the months and everything and little bookmarks. So yeah, I think I am just going to keep listening to my book, keep setting this up a little bit in between working on stuff, and yeah, it's just been a very nice chill morning so far. Hello again. It is later now and I've just finished work and I have gotten pretty far into the book, so I wanted to give you one more update before I finish it. I have an hour left of the audiobook. I'm in part 5, Homewrecker. So I think my plan for right now is just to do a little bit of cleaning up around the house, make dinner, and then by the time I'm done with all that, I should also finish the audiobook. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, my thoughts on the book have not changed, thankfully. I was very nervous that it was going to be a lot like The Hollow kind, where it started out very positive and then I lost interest. This one has kept my interest. I do actually enjoy reading still. I don't know, it's a really gripping story. Like, I can't wait to know what's gonna happen next. I really have not stopped listening besides pausing it here and there when I need to do something. So since we last spoke, Erin has started taking the ghost drug, and her friends realized there are some side effects that they were not expecting, and it has really altered their lives. Wouldn't say there's been anything that's actually scared me in this, but there have been very good scenes with ghosts involving very creepy things happening. I really want to tell you all about what's going on, but it's not in the synopsis, so I feel like everything after they actually take this drug, like, it's a spoiler now, but just know that it goes wild. Like, this book has been so fun and easy to read and bingeable, and yeah, I really can't wait to finish it real quick. Oh my god. Oh my god. That ending? Wow. This was so good. I'm so happy. I think I'm gonna go with a 4.5-star rating. I know you're probably asking why not a 5-star, because I seemed to have really liked it, and there was a part in the middle with like a baby that was very weird, and I didn't love that. It also just didn't give me the 5-star feeling. Like, I don't even know what to tell you without spoiling anything. So the ending of this really, really took a turn, and like the reveal reminded me a lot of a very, very popular horror novel that is very loved for some gross nature imagery. I'll leave it at that. Just like the reveals at the end of this, wild. So good. I definitely wouldn't have wanted to know this aspect or like the book I'm comparing it to going into it, or it would have spoiled it. I'm so happy I finally read this and that it popped up on Instagram last night as our next book to read. So thank you so much to Instagram and SPOOKOPLATHON for picking this one, because I don't know when else I was gonna get around to it. So dinner is in the oven now. As soon as that is done, I think I'm gonna start Fantastic Land, and then it's Thursday night, so there's football on that I'll half pay attention to while reading. And yeah, I'm just really hoping I can keep this momentum up. And yeah, I'm very excited to also pick our next prompt. So I will probably do that tomorrow because I'm gonna need another audiobook. So yeah. Good morning and happy Friday. I once again have an incredible update, and that is that I am loving this book. So as you know, I started it last night. I got almost 100 pages in. I think I got to like 90 or whatever before I fell asleep. And the beginning was definitely pretty slow. We are following a group of people who are stuck in this amusement park called Fantastic Land, and it's in Florida. Think a Disney World type place, and a hurricane strikes, and just the whole thing leading up to the hurricane is a little messy and unorganized, and we're getting all of this because this story is told after the fact, after the events of everything, and it's told in interview format. So in the very first chapter, we're getting a historian, and they're telling us the history of the amusement park, how it was built, all that stuff. And then in the second chapter, we get an interview with somebody from the American Red Cross, and they give us the details of the hurricane and just how bad it was. And then we move into like a guest who was at the amusement park when he was evacuated for the hurricane. And then we start getting into people who are actually there, who are actually stuck in the park when all of the shit goes down. And of course, that shit being that a Lord of the Flies-esque situation happens. Everybody in the park kind of joins tribes, they call them, and start killing each other. So in the beginning, we really get the details of why this kind of happened. So this hurricane was a Category 5, which is really, really bad, and it struck a part of Florida in this book that is not used to getting hurricanes. So the whole time leading up to before the hurricane hit land, everybody at the park was saying, it's not gonna hit us, like, don't worry about it, we're keeping the park open, whatever. Until people are already on their way to the park, they're already in the park, and just sirens start going off saying that the hurricane is about to hit land and we're all about to be underwater if you do not evacuate now. So right away, that just leads to such a stressful, like, chaotic energy coming from this book that you are like scared for these people. And then we learn that there is a protocol in place if a hurricane like this were to happen, where the set group of employees, so amusement park employees, have agreed to stay behind and take care of the park. So the thing is, the park actually had a really good safety plan in place. They have all of these storm shelters, and they have backup generators, and they have tons of food stored for these employees. And like, their storm shelters are gigantic. I think it said they had something like 400 employees staying to protect the park, and like everybody had enough room. Like, it was just very well planned out that a situation like this shouldn't have happened. But I like stories like this because it looks at the psychology of humans. Yeah, on paper, everything should have been fine and nothing bad should have happened, but then you put these people into, and of course, this is exaggerated, right? I don't think humans are that inherently bad that we'd all immediately start killing each other in a situation like this. But I just love cases like the Stanford prison experiment, for example. If you haven't looked it up, do that. It's so interesting. But it just really looks at what happens when you put people into these weird situations with these weird power dynamics and what ends up happening. So that's what we're seeing now. Is there was like this manager-esque person who was sort of in charge in the beginning, but all hell breaks loose. He loses control and everybody is left to kind of form their own alliances and their own leaders. And obviously we have groups that are not agreeing with each other. And then as an added horrific element to the story, there's this one group, they're called the Pirates because they all work in like the pirate land within Fantastic Land. And of course there are villains. They are definitely the most violent of the other groups. And they're the ones that really start the action in this. At this point, we have had quite a few killings. I'm almost at 50% now, and they are gruesome and gory. And like, I don't want to say I'm loving it because it's disturbing, but one of the scenes of torture was very, very hard to read. It does not hold back. It goes full into it. And then I actually, just for the last chapter, I did end up finding the audiobook on Everand. I always forget that I have that, and I shouldn't because I pay for it. So I switched over to the audiobook just while I'm working today, and oh my God, it's incredible. It is a full cast. Every interview is told by a different narrator. It was interview 10. Like, I was actually tearing up because this narrator was putting so much emotion into her voice and telling this story. And when you're listening to it with these different narrators, and it's like in an interview format, so you really feel like you're getting this real life account of this person who experienced this terrible thing in Fantastic Land. Yeah, I was tearing up. Like, it was hitting me. I'm definitely invested in the story and in these characters, and just like, I want the best for everyone besides the pirates. They can all die. It's a lot. It is not holding back. It's a real horror book, and I'm liking it. I'm excited. I was apprehensive going into it. I heard a lot of people say it was boring, and maybe those people couldn't get past the first 2 chapters that were very long and boring, but I feel like it gave us context of what was to come. So yeah, I'm just super excited to keep going with this one. My plan is, of course, to finish it today. It's a pretty short one, so shouldn't have any problems doing that, especially because I have the audiobook now. So I'm gonna go get back to work and listening. And yeah, I'll talk to you next time I have some thoughts about this one. Hello, please excuse my appearance and this terrible lighting. I'm in the parking lot of the gym right now. I finished my workout a few minutes before Dan, so I'm just waiting for him to be done. And I wanted to film an update because I just finished Fantastic Land, and wow, 5 stars. That is going, sorry, I have to like move over so that the shadow isn't over my face. So yeah, this is going on my favorite horror books of the year. I'm blown away. This was so good. My only small critique is there was a little bit of mention of like social media addiction and the people being without their phones, that's why all this chaos and violence happened. And I didn't really like that. I thought that was pretty dumb, but like everything else, 5 stars. A+. What an incredible horror book. It's like everything I'm looking for. It had action, it had tons of gore, it was horrific, but it didn't like push the envelope and do things like just to shock you. So there was no animal cruelty. There was mention of SA, but nothing on page or like described. God, and let me just scream about the audiobook for a second. Absolutely, if you're looking to read this, pick up the audiobook. Sorry for getting interrupted. A guy got into his car next to me and I got scared, so I had to stop. But we are back home now, and we picked up Olive Garden because I just really wanted some pasta. And now we're gonna have a little movie night and watch Lisa Frankenstein. Oh my God, I did not expect that movie to be so good. I'm blown away. I love it. I know I'm really late to the party because everybody loves this movie, but wow. If you haven't watched Lisa Frankenstein yet, please do. It's on Amazon Prime Video if you have that. 5 stars. So I was not expecting it to be as silly and goofy as it was. It was very camp, very over the top. Like, I knew it was a horror comedy going in, but like, wow. Oh my God, it was so good. I was like a little unsure about it until the scene. I'm like so obsessed with it right now. I'm even considering it as my Halloween costume for this year. And I feel like this could be really cute, especially because we can turn it into a couple's costume. I just love the ridiculousness of it. It reminded me so much of the Heathers. God, this week has been so good for like consuming Halloween-ish media. Like, I'm having the best time of my life. Anyways, so since we last spoke, and I finished the next book, it is now time. Poe literally just sat down so he could also be in the frame behind me. So anyways, we now have to pick our next books we're going to read. I did already roll the dice and pick out my next prompts. I filmed it, of course, so I will insert that here. It is once again time to roll the dice for our next Spookoplathon prompt. We got Feed Scroll last time, and I chose the Ghost Eaters for that one. So I'm thinking I'm actually going to roll twice and get 2 prompts. That way I just have an option. I can flip between them this weekend if I'm not really feeling one, in case one doesn't have an audiobook. That kind of thing, just so I know what my next 2 reads will be. So I think let's turn the board so that you can read it. All right, so rolling for our 4th prompt. We got a 6 and a 1, which is 7. And we got the Grady Hendrix space. Okay, so the Grady Hendrix space is spooky and satirical. Read a book with humor. Nothing is coming to mind right away, so I'm gonna have to go look at my TBR list and figure that out, and I'll let you know. But I am right away going to roll for my next one, just so we know what the options are. Okay, it went off the screen, but it was a 6 again, and a 2, so that's gonna be 8. And we got Seance. Okay, I was really excited for this one to come up. So the Seance space is commune with the spirits. Use a random letter generator to select a letter, then read a book that starts with that letter. Okay, so we are on randomwordgenerator.com. Generate a random letter, and it's an A. All right, again, nothing is coming to mind that starts with an A, but I will consult my list, and I will be back in a little while to tell you what that will be. Okay, welcome back to present time. So as you know, for the first roll, I got the Grady Hendrix square, and I was very stuck. I didn't think anything on my TBR like counted as a horror comedy, but I think we found a good one. So I was looking up the synopsis of some books off my list, and actually this one, which is How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive by Craig DeLuey. Goodreads literally describes it as a darkly humorous horror novel that sees a famous 80s slasher director set out to shoot the most terrifying horror movie ever made using an occult camera that might be and probably is demonic. It says right in the Goodreads description that it's humorous, so I'm taking that. I'm using that for the prompt. I'm a pretty big fan of Craig DeLuey's other books. I really, really loved Suffer the Children, one of my favorite horror books of all time. And then I also really liked the Red Peaks one. Yeah, The Children of Red Peak. That one like was about a cult. It had a little bit of like occult stuff in it. Liked that one a lot. But his latest one, episode 13, the one that came out before this, hated it. And I feel like this is sort of a similar premise. So episode 13 was supposed to be like found footage. It was about this ghost hunting TV show that something bad happened, like going through what happened to the crew during filming this TV show. And now this one having to do with film and movies and cameras. Like, I'm just scared it's going to be the same, but I'm willing to give it a chance. It is a library book, so if I hate it, I'll just DNF it. It's fine. This is going to be my physical read. I'm going to start this now. It's 11 o'clock, which is my bedtime. But you guys know I like to read a little bit before bed, so we'll try and get like a chapter or 2 done. First chapter's 12 pages. That's pushing it. I can usually only read a few before falling asleep. But yeah, so this is our next book. And then the next prompt you got, which I'm going to use as my audiobook, that is going to be All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. I already have it checked out from the library. I've heard really, really great things about this one. I don't remember what it's about, and my battery is flashing, so I'm not gonna look up the synopsis. You're just gonna have to wait till I start it tomorrow for me to let you know what it's about. But yeah, that'll be the audiobook for the weekend. This will be the physical book, and we'll go from there. I'm gonna go get ready for bed, and I will talk to you tomorrow. This is so funny to me. Like, could you imagine if I just left this here and like had a friend come over and just saw this set up on my kitchen table? But yeah, somehow the haul from Spirit Halloween and Barnes & Noble got deleted, and I wanted to show you what I got. So here we are. First up, super exciting, fake bloody axe to go with the Halloween costume. I did decide that I am going to be Lisa Frankenstein for Halloween, and Dan is going to dress up as the zombie monster Cole Sprouse character. So I already ordered most of my costume online, but definitely needed an axe to go with it. So we got that. And then from Barnes & Noble, I did not intend to buy 6 books, but here we are. So I don't know if you've seen these, but since I saw one, I have been obsessed with collecting them all. These are the Olive editions of like horror books. These were just put out this year by HarperCollins, and there's a collection of, actually there's 2 more, so 8 in total, but the Barnes & Noble I went to had 6 of them, and this is not my normal store. This one's actually pretty far away from me, but just where we were, especially because it was right next door to the Spirit we went to. I originally went in planning to get The Exorcist because I am obsessed with this cover. This is so creepy. I love it. I have never really planned on reading The Exorcist. I really like the movie, but like, I don't know, is the book as good? But now that I have this beautiful edition, like I think I have to read it. And then also in this edition, of course, we have The Between by Tananarive. I've already read this one and loved it. We have Bird Box, another one I haven't read, but I've seen the movie. So, I mean, I'm interested now that I have this edition, I've got to read it. This one is so wild to me because basically for like, I don't know, like 15, 20 years, I have not known if this was a real memory or like a fever dream. But basically I remembered reading this horror book in middle school about this holiday house and this creepy guy like kidnapping kids, maybe. And basically after reading the synopsis, I'm pretty sure this is that book. So like I've spent forever just not really sure if this was a real book or not that we read. Don't know why we were reading horror in middle school, but yeah, I think it was this one. So I am super excited to reread it now and actually see like if the memories come back, if this is the book I've been thinking of. And there are like really weird pictures throughout. Like, what is that? What is that? Like, you're telling me we read this in middle school English class? I don't know, but yeah, so there's that collection of Poe. Not that I needed another one, but like, I mean, how could I not? When the Reckoning Comes by LaTanya McQueen. Loved this one. So happy to have this edition. It's stunning. And then, yeah, when you put them all on their sides, they all have this striped pattern, like so. And then, yeah, I did order the last two in the collection from the Barnes & Noble website. And those are Dracula by Bram Stoker and Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff, I want to say. I've obviously read and loved Dracula. I have not read Lovecraft Country, but I've heard really good things about the TV show. So super excited now. And yeah. If y'all are interested in me vlogging reading these, let me know. We could do the ones I've never read before. We could do the reread of this guy. Whatever you guys would be interested in seeing. So yeah, that's the update. Gonna send you back to the normal vlog. Hello, good morning. So I know I didn't check in with you at all last night. I did read a bit and then I fell asleep on the couch reading. So was too tired to talk to you after and give you kind of the synopsis of what was going on, but I've made good progress into how to make a horror movie and survive. Like my knife bookmark. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, so I made it to page 82 in chapter 8 last night, and then since getting up this morning, I've been listening to the audiobook, and I think I'm now in chapter 11. I have a pretty busy day, so of course the goal is to finish this one, but it's going to be a little tough. It's Sunday, so like normal, we are having people over to watch the football game at 1. From now until 1, I need to clean up the house and get it ready for visitors, so I will be listening to the audiobook while I clean. And then, yeah, after the football game ends at like 4, hopefully my friends will all leave, and I will have the night to finish this one. So far, I'm really liking this one. It started off a little slow. The first 2 to 3 chapters, I was actually like a little nervous. I was like, I don't know if I like this. This is really boring. But once we kind of found the camera that is like the main thing of the story, once we got there, I'm interested now and I'm having a good time. So in this one, we are following a horror director named Max Mowry, and he's very famous. He has this trilogy of slasher films called Jack the Knife, and the third one has just premiered, and that's where we go in chapter 1. We are at the movie premiere, and he's kind of watching the audience watch the movie for the first time. He's like kind of upset actually at how the audience is perceiving the movie. They're laughing at parts of it, which he is not happy about because he is a serious horror director and he wants people to be scared. He doesn't want them to be having a good time at his movies and laughing. He wants them to be terrified. So it goes from there. They end up going to an after party and he's just really upset. He's kind of talking to everybody about like, what's the next thing in horror? How does he make a movie that actually scares people? And this is where we meet our second perspective that we start getting throughout the book. She is a young actress named Sally Priest, and she just wants to be a final girl. That's all she wants. She's done a few movies here and there, but she like hasn't had her big break, and like she wants to be a final girl. She wants her own horror movie franchise, all that. So she ends up talking to Max, and she says the line on the front, "Horror isn't horror unless it's real," and that kind of like sparks something in him, makes him realize what he wants with this horror film. Which, like, is this guy just looking to make a snuff film? Because that's what it's feeling like. Like, he just wants real death and stuff. But, yeah. So another thing that happens is we find out about sort of this urban legend slasher film that was never actually released. Because on the final day of shooting, like, all of the cast members and crew died in this freak accident with this helicopter, and rumor has it that it was actually filmed. It's at the producer's house. Max stumbles into like his home movie theater and actually finds the film reel of this accident happening, and he watches it, and he watches all of these people get brutally killed, and again it like sparks something in him. He's like, yes, I want to make a movie that feels like watching this. And it's like, dude, do you literally want to film people actually getting murdered and release it? Because you can't do that. Like, that's where I feel like we're going. We finally get to what kind of the back talks about with this cursed film camera. So of course, to further the plot, the director of the unreleased cult classic slasher actually dies like on the same day as the movie release. So Max ends up finding and going to his estate sale because he's looking for just more film reels from the filming of the movie, and he actually ends up finding the camera that filmed the movie and the terrible accident that day that killed the cast. So he buys the camera, and as he's like looking through it, there's this really ominous note like actually like written on the camera. I can't remember what it said, but it basically said, "Don't use this camera. Like, it's cursed, it's evil, don't use this camera." And Max laughs and ignores it and uses the camera. So last night I read the first scene of him testing out the camera. He goes to a public park. Yeah, totally smart decision to go to a public area with unsuspecting people to test out your cursed camera without getting their consent to be filmed by this thing. So horrible things happen. So yeah, at this point we're pretty firm in the belief that what this camera films, that person will die, like this horrible, horrific death. And yeah, he's still going with it. He still wants to use it. He still wants to make a movie with it. So it's a little goofy so far, but like the death scenes were so creative. Like, I'm interested. I sat down here to do my makeup, and instead I just like hold the book and talk to you. So I'm gonna start that. I know I just gave you like a lot of info on the synopsis, but honestly, it took a minute to actually get into the story, and there was a lot in the beginning that like I guess probably wasn't the most necessary, but it set up the story for us. The one thing I will say, I think I just finished chapter 10 on the audiobook, and the dog dies in that chapter, so not thrilled about that. I do not like when the dog is killed off in my horror books. It was a pretty graphic scene, but like I guess it could have been worse, and maybe it's just because I was listening to the audiobook that I was able to tune it out and it didn't like affect me too bad. But yeah, and yeah, besides that, we're just gonna see what he gets up to making these poor choices of continuing to use this film camera. I think that's all the updates I had. I'm gonna get back to listening to the audiobook, and yeah, I'll talk to you the next time I have some thoughts about it.
Perfect.
Sadly, we lost because we suck, but it is finally time to continue reading. You know, at least the pizza we had was good. So I actually was able to make it to the 50% mark listening to the audiobook this morning, just while getting the house ready. And unfortunately, I'm kind of bored. Nothing else has happened. Since that horrific scene I told you about where we got some death and kills, there hasn't been any more. So right now, it just really feels like a book about filmmaking and Hollywood and that kind of stuff. Like that's all that's happening is we're talking about making a film. We're talking about show business and like the producers and script writing, and like I don't care. I'm not reading this because I'm interested in like Hollywood in the 80s. I'm reading this for the horror aspect, and I'm not getting it. So I'm gonna keep going with it. I'm just like, I'm kind of bummed. I hope it gets better. I hope we get more death soon. And yeah, so I think if you're going into this one expecting a horror book, it's probably not gonna be for you. At least that's how I'm feeling right now. But if you're going into this because you love filmmaking and the world around it, perfect for you. It is reminding me a lot of Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and that's the same problem I had with that book. Like, it was all about the filmmaking process and like cult classic films. Like, it had a very similar premise to this, minus the cursed video camera. So yeah, if you liked that one, you'll probably like this one. Unfortunately, I did not like Silver Nitrate, so I'm not expecting this one to go good for me, but who knows, we might turn things around. I'm gonna get back to this now and I'll let you know when I have more thoughts. Hello again. I am still really not enjoying my time. So I was listening to the audiobook on Spotify, which I honestly don't recommend the audiobook. The narrator on it is so bad and like monotone almost. It sounds like I'm listening to like an NPR podcast when I'm listening to it. But I was just kind of doing it to get through the book because I could pump up the speed and do other things. And then because it's Spotify, I ran out of listening hours. So now I'm sitting here, I have just under 100 pages to go, and I'm like, do I care enough to finish it? But also I've invested like this much time. I only have 100 pages left. So I'm really struggling. I want a DNF, but like I don't want a DNF because like we made it this far. We're so close. And like this is when the action has to start happening, right? Finally, I might skim a little bit if I'm really, really bored, but I at least want to know what happens, I guess. I think I've invested enough, so yeah. I've read almost 30 more pages. I'm on chapter 34. These death scenes are so stupid, and the fact that like the actors aren't catching on yet that that's what's happening, this is getting annoying, but and keep reading and finish it and see how stupid it gets. I finished. Yeah, kind of ending this vlog where we started, with a book that I thought I was liking in the beginning, and wow, did it go downhill. Oh my god, that ending was so stupid. It was so bad. What? Why? I didn't like this. It was real bad. 2 stars. I don't even know what to say. It was so unbelievable. It was so dumb. It wasn't even like scary. It was about filmmaking. And by the time we got to the deaths, like it did not make sense. Nobody is as stupid that they would just see the other actors dying and like continue to play along and get killed by this camera. Like, oh my god. And then like, I didn't even talk to you about, there's like these dream sequences that get introduced, and those were so stupid. I'm so mad. I loved Craig DeLuey's first 2 books. I don't know what's going on. I don't like his new books. I don't think I'm gonna pick up another Craig DeLuey book unless his next one has absolutely nothing to do with TV shows or films or whatever he's doing nowadays. I don't like it. Yeah, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I am very glad I got that from the library and did not buy it, because that can go back tomorrow and I never have to look at it again. So once again, sorry for the bummer of talking to you about a bad book, but now you know. Of course, if this sounds interesting to you and you like books about film, maybe you'll love it. I don't know. Everybody has different tastes. I am not somebody who likes books like that. So right away, I guess I was not the target audience. With it being Sunday night, and we have now finished another book, I think it's time to end this vlog and start up another one. As a reminder, this one fulfilled my Grady Hendrix prompt for a book that was sort of satire or humorous, which I think that fit. I definitely think that Craig DeLuey was trying to be over the top and make fun of horror directors, because if that was all serious, then wow, I dislike it even more. But like, I could see that it was supposed to be funny. And then next up, the book that I will be continuing tomorrow is for the seance space. I got the letter A, and of course we are reading All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. I did actually start the audiobook for that one while mowing the lawn yesterday, but didn't talk to you about it. I'm not very far at all. My plan is to pick that one back up tomorrow while I'm working, and we'll talk more about it in that vlog. I'm trying to remember all the books we read. I know The Hollow Kind, which we didn't love, The Ghost Eaters, Fantastic Land, and this one. Was there another one? Or was that it? Either way, I think the emoji for the video is going to be the Ferris wheel. Hopefully there's a Ferris wheel emoji or something else to do with the carnival for Fantasticland. So with that, as always, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me and reading horror books and doing spooky things. I hope you read a good book today, and I will see you soon in my next one. Bye.